everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taco Matta Tuesday, the show where we eat healthy, delicious tacos and have conversations about life. I think that we can all agree that there are already plenty of obstacles in our life that we will face and continue to face. So why do we continue to allow ourselves to be one of those obstacles, standing in our own way? It's one of the most frustrating things, and I feel so inspired after some events that happened this weekend and that have just been occurring in my life to talk about how to get out of your own way. What are some mental reminders to tell ourselves? What are some habits that we need to build, some actions that we need to take in order to ensure that we do not do this on a consistent basis and keep us back from what it is that we're truly capable of achieving in this life? So I'm really excited to have this talk with you. But before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about the taco of the weekend, taco of the weekend. I should say taco of the weekend. I mean, I did get inspired by the taco recipe for this week based off of what it is that I ate this weekend. I had something with chicken and bacon and guacamole, and it was freaking delicious. And I was like, yo, this would be really good on a tortilla with like some other yummy things that make up a taco. And so there you go, you guys. Chicken, bacon, guac tacos. Simple, easy to put together, delicious, and healthy. You're welcome. All you need to do is just go to the show notes at the end of the episode and grab that recipe card to enjoy, because I know that I enjoyed mine. So there's that. All right, shall we jump into this week's episode? I think we shall. Y'all, this weekend and just like the last couple of weeks have just been so awesome in so many ways. I know that I personally have been going through some big opportunities, some cool transitions in my life, especially from a career perspective of just brainstorming, dreaming big, taking action on things that are important to me. Along with, the races that I've been preparing for myself as a coach. I've been preparing a lot of my athletes for races, and all of that to say that the one thing that has become incredibly apparent as to the thing that is standing in the way of getting from point A to point B is our own selves. I know for myself, I am the main obstacle in my life of finally being able to get to where it is that I know that I can be in a lot of different capacities. And granted, I've made a lot of great headway, but I still have some work to do. In addition, just talking to some athletes that I train, a lot of their big obstacles have just been their headspace and how they talk to themselves, how they believe in themselves, how they lack trust within themselves and what they're capable of doing. And so this week, just understanding again where I've been, the transitions that I'm making, all these big things that are happening for me in my life right now, and understanding that, we're in the last few months of this year. We've got some big things coming up by the end of this year, whether you're an athlete in the Decker world trying to qualify for a world championship spot, to just even trying to hit professional, personal, big goals before the end of 2024. I want to make sure that none of us are the reasons that we aren't getting to where it is that we deserve, that we are no longer standing in our own way. And so what I hope to accomplish by the end of this episode is, I want to give some mental reminders for you to think about and to remind yourself in these times where you feel like you are getting in your own way, so that way you can graciously step aside and allow for yourself to walk through whatever it is that you need to walk through and navigate. But then more importantly, what are some habits to build? What are some actions to take that'll help you build that mental muscle of being able to call yourself out and then being able to pivot and, again, make sure that you're moving in the direction that's productive? So let's talk about mental reminders of how to get out of your own way. This first one, I probably say it close to every single episode, so clearly it must be important, you guys. And that is to trust that the universe has your freaking back. This is something that allows for me to step outside of myself and know that there are so many bigger things outside of just myself that are constantly moving and shifting and taking care of me. And I want to share this, that taking care of me does not mean giving me the outcome that I want, but giving me the outcome that I desperately need. And this is the next mental reminder that comes from that, is the reminder of what's the bigger picture at play here. Why are you doing this? Why are you truly trying to get after this thing that you're constantly beating your head up against the door after? Sometimes when we are after certain pursuits, it's super easy to get selfish and to get self-consumed into what will other people think about me, or what if I don't hit XYZ result? We just get so lost in this headspace of what if, that we need to just turn away from that and instead turn into the gratitude for all of the opportunities that we are being granted in our lives right now. These opportunities that are giving us a chance to show up in a way that not everyone gets the chance to. For example, this weekend, I got the opportunity to race with my boyfriend, Dave. And anytime that you get ready to race, it's super easy to get in your head around like, oh my gosh, like what if this doesn't happen? Or crap, like the course sucks. Like, I can't even tell you guys. This weekend, I was really hoping for a fast course, and it wasn't a terrible course, but it wasn't great. And I know that the owners, and I love the owners of this gym, they're absolutely wonderful, and they're doing the best with what they have and what they know. But unfortunately, just being an athlete of the sport, it's not a course that you want to try and do a fast qualifying world championship time on. Just, there was some safety hazard in my eyes. There was some actually several opportunities where you were running into spectators. Anyways, I digress on all that because that doesn't matter in this podcast. But what does matter is when you show up to something like that and you realize that there's all of this crap that's out of your control, and that things start to kind of tick you off one thing by another. And then you start to doubt, am I ready for this? Will I be able to execute all of these things, right? Like, I think we all can agree that when we get put up in a pressure-filled moment, that our thoughts can fly just about anywhere. And I needed to stop and remember the bigger picture, that this has nothing to do about putting up a fast time. This has nothing to do about being the absolute best team that will come in here today, or the best team to ever compete at Deca freaking Mile. It has nothing to do with that. What this has to do with is that I have an amazing man and an amazing mom that I get to do this thing that I love with, that I get to challenge myself alongside them, that I get to sweat and laugh and slap butts with. Guys, if you didn't see the reel, there was lots of slapping of butts during the transition of these relay races. It was so awesome. But I had to pause and remember that it had nothing to do about the other things that I was so worried and upset about. It had everything to do with, I get to move today. I get to move in a way that I love and get an incredible workout in. And better yet, I get to do it with people that I freaking adore and care about. How amazing is that? So in these moments where you're in your own way and you find yourself being self-consumed over the things that don't matter, that you're feeling a little bit more on the selfish side, get outside of your own self and find that bigger picture again of what this actually means by you accomplishing XYZ goal. Why it is so important for you to be doing this. And for me, my why was just to find joy in things that I love with the people that I love. That was it. And when I put my headspace there, I let go of all the frustrations. Guess what happened? I got out of my own way. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't flipped out about what was to come or if I was going to trip because of the millions of holes and crazy things that were happening outside on the run. I just got to enjoy it and do what I know how to do best. And then as a byproduct, my mom and I took the best female teams time of the day, and Dave and I took the best co-ed plus the best team times overall of the day. Isn't that crazy how that happens? So all of that to say, 2 mental reminders. Trust that the universe has your back, and to remember the bigger picture at the end of the day of why it is that you're doing what you're doing, and to focus on the things that matter versus the things that don't. The next thing, and I think that this slides perfectly in with what I'm talking about, is a mental reminder of the worst thing that can happen to you is a learned lesson. If the worst thing that can happen to you is that you show up and you learn something new about yourself or about the world around you, why in the world would you not go after it? Why? Would you rather walk away from that moment or that experience with a lesson that makes you better, or would you rather regret the fact that you didn't get to live life to the fullest? So stop standing in your own way because you're worried about what potential outcome might happen. Lean in to whatever potential outcome might happen, good, bad, or ugly. Realizing that whatever it is that comes on the other side, that you're going to learn something from it and that you're going to handle whatever it is that comes on the other side. Get excited about getting to walk away with something productive versus sitting there and holding yourself back and sitting on the sidelines watching your life go by. As someone who lived her life on the couch, depressed and lethargic in several toxic relationships and a working environment that drove her absolutely bonkers, like, guys, when I stopped living my life on the sidelines and I started playing the freaking game, not everything was sunshine and rainbows. But I'll tell you what, I learned a lot about myself and I bucked up and I became stronger. And that thick skin that I built, all the things that I learned, has created the woman that you're listening to today on the other side of the microphone. And it's been the most incredible ride. And I can truly say that I am living the life that I freaking love because of those decisions to not live on the sidelines of my life and regret living to the fullest 4 freaking years ago when I had the chance to. You have the chance and the choice to do that every single day. Stop sitting there wishing for a different outcome when you can sit there and create your own outcomes. Okay, I hope that is loud and clear. The next thing, and this is the last mental reminder that I want to give you before we jump into some habits to build, is that you are the stories that you tell yourself. The stories that you tell yourself is easily who you are going to become. This morning, I was talking to one of my personal training clients, and she was talking about, weight loss journey and frustrations around that. And as, again, someone who's been through a 75-pound weight loss journey and has coached several people through it, I understand this space forwards and backwards, up and down, everything in between. And she started bringing up, like data around like, well, if you were born chubby, you're always chubby and da-da-da-da. And I couldn't say, no, that's wrong. And nor did I want to. I don't want to invalidate anyone. There is so much research and science out there that will make your head freaking spin. But what I do know, and this is what I told her, I said, look, we could get lost in the data and science all day. Granted, I think that it is important to listen and understand to give us an understanding of what maybe some of our potential challenges might be. But the only thing that you can control in this moment, and the only thing that is truly actually standing in your way, is the stories that you're going to continue to tell yourself. If you truly believe in the story that if you were born chubby, that way you will always be chubby, guess what? You're always going to be chubby. You are never going to achieve the goals that you want. So at the end of the day, what story do you want to create? How do you want this story to end, better yet? And if the story that you're telling yourself now has nothing to do with the story and the way that you want it to end, we got to make those two align. So this is a very simple thing to start to remind yourself as you're sitting there talking to yourself throughout the day. Am I telling myself the stories that I deserve to hear? Are these stories actually serving me, or are they creating the outcome that I'm actually scared shitless of wanting? I don't want that. So it's such a great mental reminder and a way to hold yourself accountable to create stories and tell yourself stories that are going to lead you to the outcomes that you are very, very deserving of and that actually align with what you want. Okay. So now let's talk about habits to build, actions to take in order for you to no longer stand in your own freaking way. And the first one, which has already kind of come out in the mental reminders piece, is to control what you can and let go of the rest. Control the controllables, because at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You can't control if the sky is going to fall tomorrow or if the world's going to end the next day. You can't. But here's what I know that you can do is you can control how you show up and the efforts that you meticulously choose to put into different parts of your life. We spend too much time trying to consider every single scenario, and we try and control the outcome that we're going to create all the time, every day, which is going to create so much frustration and so much fear, like paralyzing fear, when we want to actually take a step because we're worried about whether or not we can actually do the dang thing. So instead, if we can remove that from our lives and focus on controlling how we show up and the intentional efforts that we put into the intentional things that matter to us, it's going to completely change the game of the stories that we tell ourselves, the outcomes that we end up getting, because we're not worried about all the things that we can't control. We're just focusing on the little things that actually move the needle. And coupled with that, probably the most important one of all, is letting go of the outcome. If you're sitting there and you're holding this with fists, like I'm trying to hold on so hard to get this specific outcome, you're going to miss everything that was absolutely needed for you. Again, you don't get what you want, you get what you need. So don't sit there and hold on to something when in fact it might be something that you don't need right now. Let go of the outcome and get lost in the process of becoming and simply just enjoying that. Allowing for all the things to come to you, again, the good, the bad, and the ugly, knowing that you can trust yourself enough to handle whatever it is that comes on the other side, and that you can take a deep breath, that you can protect your peace because you're not sitting there again ferociously holding on to these things that quite honestly might not be the thing that you actually really need. So let go. Let go of all the things that don't matter and let go of the outcome and let the right things come to you. The next habit to build is to make things simple again. That's it. Lean into simplicity over complexity, because complexity is the thief to your success. How can you remove all of these intense emotions that you are experiencing from the situation? And when I say this, I don't mean this in not feeling and not having emotion, because that's honestly what makes us very special and amazing as human beings, is the fact that we have those. But I think we've talked about it several times on this podcast, is that emotions can be kind of misleading. They're fleeting. They're as fleeting as the moment that we're in right now. It's not going to always last forever. So why do we allow for our decisions to be made off of something like an emotion, right? Emotions also make things incredibly complex because one thing or one moment we're happy, the next one we're sad and frustrated, and we'll go all across the board. And what does that do for our decision making and ability to take action? Probably doesn't send us in the right direction. So first step in removing complexity to therefore see more success and actually take action and not be in our own way is to remove the emotion from the situation, right? Being able to acknowledge it of how we're feeling, but then being able to take a deep breath and find that space of neutrality. The next thing is, how can you go back to the basics and just focus on sharpening your axe on little things that are actually going to move the needle forward? We like to reinvent the wheel a lot because we think that, well, if we reinvent the wheel or if we come up with this crazy new amazing workout move, that all of a sudden all of our butts are going to be lifted and everyone's going to be happy. It doesn't happen that way. You want to know how I've become one of the top athletes in DECA? I spend several hours rowing. I spend several hours skiing. I spend several hours on an assault bike. That's all I do. Some days I'll do it a little bit different than other days, but quite literally, I spend a lot of time on those three machines, and I spend a lot of time just working agility. There is nothing special to what I do. There is no special formula outside of just getting really good at the fundamentals. So I hope that that is a calling for you or a sign for you that you don't need to have this insanely amazing plan in place. You just need to remove the complexity from your life and say, these are the needle movers right here. I'm going to focus on these, and that's it. Guys, life is not that complex. You know what makes it complex is our brain and the way that we navigate it. In fact, life is pretty simple when we look at what it is that can make us super successful. So remove the emotion, and go back to the basics that are going to have you, or sorry, not have you, but help you move the needle forward. Okay. The last thing, if you are struggling to get out of your own way, the habit that you need to build, and something that I challenge you to do every single day, is each time you walk through a door, I want you to tell yourself one thing that you like about yourself. Feed your brain a single reason as to why you are capable, deserving, and worthy of the action you inspire to take today. I know it's easier said than done, but with each thought of confidence that you give to yourself is where you find yourself finally stepping out of your own way and allowing all that's meant to be to finally enter your life. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today, and I hope that if this podcast truly impacted you, that you would send this or share this episode with someone who really needs to hear this message today. And if you happen to be a first-time listener, to rate and review the podcast. I'd love to hear what you guys think and take any of your feedback. Until next time, I will be traveling out to Connecticut, to Underdog Fitness, my home gym, to throw down in some super exciting DECA races. I cannot wait to share with you more about all the exciting things that come from that. But have a great week, you guys, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode. See you then.